Rimuru, the hero copycat by RimuruEdward6. All for one POV. Her voice returned, as smug and insufferably confident as ever. So, father, how are you planning to escape? She teased, her tone dripping with amusement. Oh, and don't bother with your lackeys outside the door. They're out of your quirk range. Nice touch, right? I clenched my fists, her words cutting through the silence of the chamber. She had thought of everything, hadn't she? Every precaution, every countermeasure. She was playing this game on a level that even I had to respect. You've become quite thorough, I said aloud, my voice calm despite the storm brewing within. But even the most carefully constructed plans have flaws. Her laughter echoed in my mind, light and mocking. Oh, I'm sure you'll find one eventually, father. But by the time you do, I'll be 10 steps ahead. I leaned back in my chair, my thoughts racing as I considered my options. The suppression field rendered my quirks useless, and with my operatives deliberately out of range, I couldn't summon them to assist me. But no trap was perfect. There's always a way, I murmured, more to myself than to her. Is there? She asked, her voice almost playful. Because right now, it looks like you're stuck. And while you're stuck, I've got all the time in the world to dismantle everything you've built. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to remain calm. You've underestimated me before, Rimuru. I suggest you don't make that mistake again. Her voice softened, though the confidence never wavered. Maybe. Or maybe this time, I've finally outplayed you. Either way, good luck, father. You're going to need it. Her presence faded, leaving me alone with the silence of the suppression chamber. I closed my eyes, my mind working through the possibilities. Rimuru had thought of nearly everything, but nearly was the key. No trap was infallible. And I would find its weakness. You've come far, Rimuru, I murmured, my voice low and cold. But you're not the only one who can adapt. The game continued, and while she held the upper hand for now, I was far from defeated. I would escape. And when I did, her carefully crafted plans would crumble. The quiet of the chamber was oppressive, the hum of the suppression field a constant reminder of my current predicament. Rimuru's mocking voice still echoed faintly in my mind, her confidence infuriatingly unshaken. I stood and approached the door, placing a hand on its cold, unyielding surface. Beyond it, my operatives waited, deliberately positioned outside the range of my influence. She had orchestrated this perfectly, ensuring that even those loyal to me were useless in my current state. You've thought of nearly everything, I murmured, the corners of my mouth curling into a faint smile. But, nearly, is not enough to hold me. I turned back toward the room, scanning its sparse interior. The suppression devices hummed steadily, embedded in the walls and ceiling, creating an inescapable field that neutralized my quirks. But suppression wasn't nullification. The devices didn't erase power, they only dampened its effects. That was their design, their flaw. I extended my hand, focusing on the faintest flicker of energy within me. It was barely perceptible, a shadow of my usual strength, but it was there. Adaptation, I murmured, the word tasting bitter but necessary. Rimuru had forced my hand, driving me to the limits of my ingenuity. If I couldn't rely on raw power, I would use finesse. The suppression field was a masterpiece of control, but like all systems, it relied on consistency. A single disruption, a power surge, an external force, could destabilize its balance. I walked to the control panel embedded in the wall. Rimuru had locked me out of my systems, but physical mechanisms couldn't be entirely overridden. Every design, no matter how advanced, had a manual override. I pressed my palm against the panel, exerting the faintest pulse of energy. The field flickered, barely noticeable, but enough to confirm my theory. A crack, I murmured, my voice soft but edged with determination. That's all I need. Her trap was clever, but she had underestimated my ability to find and exploit weaknesses. I leaned against the wall, my mind working through the next steps. Disrupting the suppression field would take time, and I would have to act carefully to avoid triggering her fail-safes. But time was something I had in abundance. You've forced me to adapt, Rimuru, I said softly, a slow smile spreading across my face. And when I escape, I will repay the favor. Her cleverness, her defiance, her careful planning, it was all admirable, even enviable. But it was also flawed. No one could account for everything. Not even her. I closed my eyes, focusing on the faint flicker of energy within me, and began to work. As I worked, channeling what little power the suppression field allowed me, her voice returned, sharp and mocking, cutting through my concentration. Not happening that easily, father, she said, her tone dripping with amusement. Before I could respond, the room erupted in chaos. A surge of black lightning burst from the walls, crackling with raw energy. The air itself seemed to hum with power as the bolts struck me with an intensity I hadn't anticipated. I was thrown back, slamming into the far wall, the impact sending a dull ache radiating through my body. The suppression chamber trembled with the force of the blast, the glow of the lightning casting erratic shadows across the room. I gritted my teeth, pushing myself up slowly as the last tendrils of lightning dissipated. You've prepared well, I muttered, my voice strained but steady. Perhaps too well. Her laughter echoed in my mind, soft and infuriating. Oh, father, did you think I wouldn't notice? The suppression field may dampen your quirks, but you're still dangerous. So, I added a little insurance. I wiped a hand across my face, brushing away a trickle of blood. Black lightning, I said, my tone cold. An impressive touch. But it won't stop me. No, she admitted, her voice tinged with satisfaction. It won't. But it will slow you down. And that's enough for now. The hum of the suppression devices grew louder, almost as if they were responding to the lightning. The energy in the room felt heavier, pressing down on me with renewed force. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stand tall despite the weight. You've become quite the tactician, Rimuru, I said, my voice calm but edged with irritation. But every move you make only delays the inevitable. Her voice softened, though the confidence remained. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just enjoying watching you struggle for once. You've always been so composed, so untouchable. It's nice to see you on the other side of the game. The connection faded again, leaving me alone with the faint scent of ozone and the oppressive hum of the chamber. I leaned against the wall, my mind racing even as my body ached from the lightning's force. She had accounted for everything, or so she thought. You're clever, my dear, I murmured, a faint smile tugging at my lips. But cleverness is not invincibility. And lightning, no matter how powerful, will not keep me here forever. Her trap was formidable, but even the strongest traps had weaknesses. And I would find hers. Because no matter how much she mocked or delayed me, the game was far from over. Hawk's Pav. The safe house was quiet, the dim light of the room casting a warm glow over the sparse furnishings. Rimuru lay on the bed, her silver hair spread across the pillow, her face pale but peaceful. All Might sat in a chair by her bedside, his broad shoulders hunched slightly as he watched her with a mix of concern and admiration. I leaned against the wall, my arms crossed, keeping my usual relaxed posture even as the tension in the room weighed heavy. She had been out for hours, and despite knowing her strength, there was a part of me that couldn't shake the worry gnawing at the back of my mind. Then, a faint sound broke the silence. Sorry for the trouble I caused. Her voice was barely a whisper, weak and fragile, but it was enough to draw both of our attention. I pushed off the wall and moved closer, standing at the foot of the bed. All Might leaned forward, his expression softening as she opened her golden eyes slowly, blinking as if adjusting to the light. Rimuru, All Might said gently, his voice filled with relief. You're awake. She gave a faint nod, her movements sluggish. Barely, she mumbled, her voice hoarse. But I'm here. I let out a small sigh, shaking my head. You scared the hell out of us, you know that. You don't just collapse like that and expect us not to worry. A weak smile tugged at the corners of her lips. Sorry, she said again, her voice soft but sincere. I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. All Might placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression firm but kind. You don't need to apologize, Rimuru. You pushed yourself to the limit for the sake of others. That's nothing to be sorry for. She closed her eyes briefly, as if absorbing his words. Still, she murmured, I don't want to be a burden. I crouched beside the bed, resting my forearms on my knees as I looked at her. A burden? Seriously. You just broke out of All for One's stronghold and threw his plans into chaos. If anything, you're the opposite of a burden. Her golden eyes flicked to me, a faint spark of amusement shining through her exhaustion. Thanks, Hawks, she said quietly. But you're just saying that to make me feel better. I smirked, shaking my head. Nah, I mean it. You're a pain sometimes, sure, but you're one hell of a hero. She chuckled weakly, the sound barely audible but genuine. All Might smiled, his tone gentle but resolute. Rest now, Rimuru. You've done more than enough for today. We'll handle things from here. She nodded slowly, her eyelids growing heavier. Thanks, she whispered, her voice trailing off as she drifted back into sleep. I stood, exchanging a glance with All Might. She's tougher than anyone gives her credit for, I said quietly. All Might nodded. Yes, but even the strongest need support. And it's up to us to make sure she gets it. As I looked back at Rimuru, her breathing steady and peaceful, I couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of determination. You've got us, Rimuru, I murmured. We're not letting you face this alone. All for one POV. I sat in the silence of the suppression chamber, my thoughts racing as I worked through every possible strategy for escape. The black lightning she had unleashed still lingered in the air, the faint smell of ozone a constant reminder of her audacity. And then her voice returned, calm and mocking as ever, slicing through the silence like a blade. Oh, father, she began, her tone dripping with amusement, I just got my influence into the Japanese and American hero branches. Finally guaranteed, thanks to the opportunity you so kindly provided me. My eyes narrowed, her words hitting like a blow. Influence. I murmured aloud, my voice cold and sharp. That's right, she continued, her confidence maddening. Your little stunt, keeping me locked away, making me push my abilities, did wonders for my reputation. The Hero Commission in Japan and its counterparts in America couldn't be happier to support a hero like me. So thanks, father. I've been waiting for this opportunity. The weight of her claim settled over me. She had used her escape from my stronghold, the chaos and destruction she had caused, to bolster her position. And now, she had secured influence in two of the most powerful hero organizations in the world. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. Clever, Rimuru, I said softly, my voice carrying through the empty chamber. You've turned my efforts against me once again. But influence is a fleeting thing. Her laughter echoed in my mind, light and mocking. Fleeting. Maybe. But for now, it's mine. And as long as I have it, you'll find it harder and harder to move in the shadows. I leaned back, my smile fading as my thoughts darkened. You think you've outmaneuvered me, I murmured. But power built on perception is fragile. And perception can be shattered. Her presence faded, leaving me alone with my thoughts. She had won this round, yes. But her victory would not last. Enjoy your influence, Rimuru, I said softly, my tone laced with menace. Because when the truth comes to light, even the greatest heroes will turn against you. The game continued, and while she was climbing higher, I was already planning her fall. Her voice returned, echoing through the confines of my chamber with an infuriating blend of confidence and mockery. Oh, father, I don't need that influence for long, she said, her tone light but deliberate. No, I just need it long enough to gain access to all their powerful secrets and quirks. Nothing more. I froze, her words hanging in the air like a taunt. I learned from the best, after all, she continued, her voice dripping with satisfaction. However, unlike you, I have something you never will. A chill ran down my spine as her tone shifted, growing sharper, more deliberate. Thanks to my assistant, I have more power, more knowledge, and more mastery, all in one. My quirk shouldn't be called analytical copycat. No, a more fitting name would be all in one. Don't you think? My fists clenched, her audacity pushing my patience to its limits. All in one, I repeated softly, my voice cold and sharp. How bold of you to compare yourself to me, Rimuru. Her laughter rang out in my mind, light and mocking. Oh, I'm not comparing, father. I'm surpassing. You gather quirks and wield them, sure, but I do more. I perfect them. I master them. And unlike you, I don't need decades of trial and error to make them my own. Her words cut deeper than I cared to admit. I had spent a lifetime refining my power, building my collection of quirks into an unstoppable arsenal. And yet here she was, claiming she had surpassed me in mere years. You're overconfident, Rimuru, I said softly, my voice steady despite the storm brewing within. Power without control is chaos. And chaos always collapses. Oh, father, she replied, her tone almost pitying. Control isn't the problem. Not for me. You see, I don't just take quirks. I understand them. I evolve them. I've taken what you've built and turned it into something you could only dream of. Her presence faded, leaving me alone in the oppressive silence of the chamber. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of her words settling over me. All in one, I murmured, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. A fitting name. But even the most powerful quirks have weaknesses. She was playing a dangerous game, and she was playing it well. But power, no matter how great, was not invincible. You've come far, my dear, I said softly, my voice laced with menace. But remember this, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And when the time comes, I will be there to remind you who truly holds the ultimate power. Her confidence was infuriating, yes, but it was also her greatest flaw. Because no one, not even her, was untouchable. Her voice returned, soft and deceptively innocent, with a tone that belied the sharp cunning beneath. But for now, father, she began, her words carrying an infuriatingly playful edge, I'll be the adorable child hero who's just shouldering too much burden for her age. A symbol of hope, of resilience. So tragic, don't you think? I clenched my fists, her mockery like nails on glass. You're playing a dangerous game, Rimuru, I said aloud, my voice steady but cold. Dangerous. She repeated, her voice tinged with amusement. Maybe. But look at me, I'm the perfect picture of innocence. A hero struggling against impossible odds, pushing herself beyond her limits to save the world. Everyone loves a good story, father. And I've given them the best one yet. Her laughter echoed in my mind, light and mocking, a sound that grated against my composure. They don't see the real me, and they don't need to. All they see is what I want them to see, a brave little hero trying her best. And while they're looking at that, I'm busy learning everything I need to bring you down. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to remain calm. You've mastered deception, I admitted, my tone measured. But masks always crack, Rimuru. And when yours does, the world you've built will crumble. Oh, father, she replied, her voice softening but losing none of its confidence, that's the difference between you and me. You force the world to kneel before you. I let it lift me up. My mask isn't cracking anytime soon. Her presence faded, leaving me with her parting words still ringing in my ears. I leaned back in my chair, the oppressive silence of the chamber a stark contrast to the chaos she had unleashed in my mind. You've created a perfect illusion, my dear, I murmured, a faint smile tugging at the corners of my lips. But perfection is fragile. And when the cracks begin to show, I will be there to shatter it. For now, she was the adored hero, the brave child shouldering burdens too great for her age. But the truth had a way of surfacing, and when it did, she would find herself facing the one thing she couldn't escape. Me. All for one pav. Her voice returned, sharper now, brimming with confidence and a maddening sense of control. The best thing about the mask, father, she said, her tone carrying a sinister sweetness, is that if you were to expose me, nobody would believe it. There's too much evidence against the idea. And even if they did. I stiffened, her words cutting deeper than I cared to admit. I could frame it as the story of a child who escaped her father to protect what is right. People love a good family drama when it's framed correctly. Her laughter rang out in my mind, light and mocking. Imagine it, the tragic tale of the brave little hero, rising above her villainous roots to save the day. The public would eat it up. I clenched my fists, her audacity grating against my composure. You're playing a dangerous game, Rimuru, I said aloud, my voice steady but cold. Dangerous, yes, she admitted, her voice softening slightly, but isn't that what makes it fun? The world loves me, father. They see me as a symbol of hope, of resilience. If you try to tear me down, they'll only see it as another cruel act by the villain they already despise. Her words struck a nerve, and I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to remain calm. Even the best stories unravel, Rimuru, I said, my tone measured. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully you craft your narrative. Perhaps, she replied, her confidence unshaken, but by the time it does, I'll have already won. You taught me well, father. I know how to control the narrative, how to twist the truth into something the world wants to believe. And right now, they want to believe in me. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing as her voice faded, leaving me in the oppressive silence of the chamber once more. She was right, her deception was masterful, her facade nearly flawless. But perfection was fragile, and every mask had its cracks. You've built yourself a fortress of lies, my dear, I murmured, my voice low and deliberate. But even the strongest fortresses can fall. She could frame herself as the child who escaped her father, as the hero rising above her past. The world might believe her. But the truth always found a way. And when it did, I would ensure that the fall was as spectacular as the lie. Her voice returned once again, calm and steady, but now there was a sharp edge to her words, one that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Oh, father, she began, her tone almost gentle, there's one quirk I haven't mentioned yet. It's my ace in the hole, the one that makes my plans bulletproof. It's called reset. I froze, my thoughts grinding to a halt as I processed her words. With reset, she continued, her voice filled with quiet confidence, I can turn back time. Not just once, but as many times as I need. And the best part, all my abilities remain in my database. I grow, I learn, and in the end, I win, no matter how many times I have to retry. Her laughter, soft and maddening, echoed in my mind. It's why I don't fear failure, father. Every loss, every misstep, is just another chance to improve. While you cling to control, I embrace evolution. And reset ensures that no matter how many times I fall, I'll always rise stronger. I clenched my fists, her words reverberating in my mind. A quirk that could turn back time, retaining everything she had learned, everything she had gained. It was a concept so dangerous, so absolute, that it bordered on the impossible. You've made yourself untouchable, I murmured, my voice low and cold. Or so you believe. Not untouchable, she corrected, her tone light but deliberate. Just prepared. You can try to stop me, father, but every attempt you make only helps me grow. In the end, there's only one outcome. I win. Her voice faded, leaving me alone with the weight of her words. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. A quirk like reset was more than just a tool, it was an advantage that defied the natural order, a power that made conventional strategies meaningless. And yet, no ability was without limits. You may have found a way to rewrite your failures, Rimuru, I murmured, my voice steady, but even reset cannot protect you forever. Every ability has a cost, and every power has a weakness. Her confidence was infuriating, but it also revealed a crack in her armor, her reliance on reset. If I could find the cost, the strain, or the flaw within it, I could turn her greatest strength into her undoing. You've made yourself a formidable opponent, I said softly, a slow smile spreading across my face. But even the strongest strategies collapse when faced with the unexpected. The game had shifted once again, and while her ability to reset the board made her dangerous, it also gave me a new target to exploit. Let's see how many times you can reset, my dear, I murmured, my voice laced with menace. Before I make sure there's nothing left for you to turn back to. Her voice returned, sharp and infuriatingly calm, as if she were savoring every moment of this. And of course, father, I'll turn back to a point before today, she said, her tone almost playful. But I'm feeling generous. I'll give you a chance to play the game. I stiffened, my eyes narrowing. The door is open, she continued, and your lackeys are back to normal as well. Success, right. Or maybe not. I hope you enjoy the game I set up specifically for you. The suppression chamber door hissed, then slid open with a mechanical whine. I stepped forward cautiously, my eyes scanning the dim corridor beyond. True to her word, my operatives stood at their posts, alert and ready. But something was off. I could feel it in the air, a tension, an anticipation, as though the very space around me was alive with her presence. You've planned this well, Rimuru, I murmured, my voice low and deliberate. But generosity doesn't suit you. What's the catch? Her laughter echoed faintly in my mind, fading as quickly as it came. I turned to my operatives, their faces devoid of the glazed expressions I had seen before. They bowed their heads slightly, awaiting my orders. Prepare the stronghold, I commanded, my voice firm. She's given us a chance, but it's a chance to see how far her game extends. Tighten security, and prepare for contingencies. As they moved to obey, I stepped into the corridor, the faint hum of the suppression devices fading as I left the chamber behind. Her game had begun, and she had given me the first move. But every game, no matter how intricate, had a purpose. Enjoy your resets, Rimuru, I murmured, a slow smile spreading across my face. Because while you're busy rewinding, I'll be learning too. The path she had set before me would be layered with traps and misdirection, of that I was certain. But she had given me one advantage, she had let me out. And now, it was my turn. You've crafted a game specifically for me, I said softly, my voice filled with quiet menace. Then let's see if you can handle what happens when I play it my way. The game was on, and I was ready to turn her carefully constructed world upside down. As I stepped further into the corridor, the oppressive silence was broken once again by her voice, light and teasing, yet carrying an edge that I couldn't ignore. Playing with you is my favorite pastime, father, she said, her tone dripping with mock affection. You know that. Nothing beats some great father-daughter activities, in our family's unique way, of course. I stopped, her words echoing in my mind, and allowed myself a small, cold smile. You've always had a flair for dramatics, Rimuru, I said aloud, my voice calm and measured. But you forget, this isn't a game you can win with words alone. Words, she repeated, laughter tinging her voice. Oh, father, this is so much more than words. But you have to admit, our family ways make for some interesting bonding moments. The air around me seemed to hum with anticipation, as if the very walls were listening to our exchange. She was enjoying this far too much, her amusement palpable even through the distance. You speak as though you're in control, I said softly, my voice cutting through the stillness. But control is fleeting, my dear. Especially when you underestimate your opponent. Oh, I'm not underestimating you, she replied, her tone taking on a sharper edge. I'm just making sure you have every opportunity to try and keep up. It wouldn't be much fun if I didn't give you a chance, right? Her presence faded once more, leaving me in the charged silence of the corridor. I clenched my fists, her taunts pushing against my carefully maintained composure. She had set the stage for this game, yes, but every move she made only revealed more of her strategies, her intentions, and her limits. You may find this entertaining now, Rimuru, I murmured, a slow smile spreading across my face. But games like these always have consequences. Her twisted idea of family bonding was as infuriating as it was intriguing. She had turned our dynamic into a battlefield, one where every word, every action, carried layers of meaning. Let's see how far you're willing to go, my dear, I said, stepping forward into the shadows of her carefully crafted game. Because when this is over, there will be no doubt who holds the upper hand. The game continued, and I was ready to turn her amusement into regret.